Hello everybody and welcome back to the British Pokemon League show. I am your host Matt Starr and here we are at week number 12. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 12. There's 12 weeks since we started. Man, we have 2 weeks left of the regular season, boys and girls. I can't believe I keep saying this every week. I can't believe we're at this point already. It feels like yesterday. We were just kicking things off. January the 30th, we just done the draft. Nobody knew what to expect. Nobody knew anything about each other, and now 12 weeks later, we're here. And playoffs are 3 weeks away. It's crazy. Before we get started with this week's games, let's take a quick look at the league table going into week number 12. Bulu boys still perched there at the top of the British Pokemon League table, closely followed by Miami Heat and Inglorious Surfers in second and third, all on the 7-4 record. Long Island Gumi sat there in 4th place, just edging ahead of Toed Star Belgrade and Shadow Kings in 5th and 6th. And at the bottom there, we've got Newcastle Thundurus and Aurora. Articuno, of course, this week, 2 huge games once again. It seems like every week we have some sort of huge game going on. We have got second versus third, Miami Heat taking on Inglorious Surfers. Of course, we all know what happened last time these two played. One of the most insane 2-0 games I have ever witnessed. And then we also have the Bulu boys taking on Aurora. Articuno. First versus 8th once again between these two teams. It's almost like it's written in the stars for this to keep happening between the two. And of course, the rest of our games, we have got the Long Island Gummies taking on the Shadow Kings. Pretty big, not reciprocations, pretty big, there's quite big stuff on the line there in that game, With only 3 weeks left to go, there's still every chance that 5th, 6th and 7th could squeeze into that final winners bracket place. And finally, at the bottom there, we have got Toed Star Belgrade taking on Newcastle Thundurus. Big local derby game. As I said, last time these two played, it was a 2-1. Toed Star Belgrade just edging that out last time. But I feel like it's going to be a whole different story this time. But we'll have to wait and see. But without further ado, let's take a look at the teams of our first game. It is Inglorious Surfers taking on Miami Heat, as I mentioned earlier. Inglorious Surfers getting that win last time. A 2-0 game that honestly felt like it went to a game 3. I've never seen anything like it. Was just close from the get-go, and I fully expect it to to the same to happen again, to be honest. But last week we saw Aaron get yet another win. This man just looks unstoppable. He's now 6-1 since week number 4. The Hatterene, really putting in the big work with Indeedee by his side. Once it gets a Trick Room up, it's very, very difficult stuff. We've seen that Terrakion come in with that beat-up play from that Doug trio against Aurora Articuno the other week. But that strat didn't seem to work out so good against Wheel's all-rain team last week. Will it be a different story this week? Who knows? But Aaron does have those 2 options. Of course, as well, Grookey. I'm sorry, not Grookey, Thwacky putting in the work as well, the mini Rillaboom working out really well against that rain team. And of course, we've seen Zoroark and Cloyster come a few times. We've not really seen too much of that Riolu, so maybe is this the week where we finally see that thing debut. On the other side, though, we have got Latvians Miami Heat, and another team that is on one hell of a run at the moment. That Lat hasn't really lost many games apart from losing to Wheel 2 weeks ago. So Lat is on one hell of a run, and that Slowbro Lipides with the copycat Trick Room strat and then the fake tears looks so phenomenally difficult to stop. If you can't put a stop to that Slowbro Galad doing and working his Dynamax, you're in a lot of trouble. And of course, as we mention every week, such a diverse team. That team can run under Trick Room and Torkoal can get things going. That Cinderace can put in the work with this Libero ability. You've seen Drifblim come in with a Sucker Punch self-proc to proc the weakness policy. We've seen Machamp and Mudsteel come in and do work as well. Blastoise, one we haven't seen for a while, but in its own right can do the work. But I'm going to stop jamming on. Let's get right into our game. Game number 1 of week number 12. Inglorious Surfers versus Miami Heat. And no Indeedee female this week for Aaron. So that is a big, big call. And in comes the Dugtree and Terrakion. So obviously trying to set up the beta play. And in comes Blastoise and Cinderace. Now Aaron won't be enjoying seeing that lead on the other side of the screen. Blastoise kind of really hard counters both of those mon there, and Cinderace as well with the Silvero ability can really put in the work with a Max Knuckle potentially, or even a Pyro Ball is going to do a lot of work. I very much doubt that the Pyro Ball is what we're going to see from the off here, but if that Cinderace, once it gets its G-Max up and starts getting the attack boost, it's very, very difficult to stop. And yeah, I said that the Blastoise in its own right is a strong Pokemon. You know, we've seen Lat use the Assault Vest on the Blastoise in the past. Whether he'll play that item this week, who knows? But both coaches just trying to work out which direction they want to take it. Obviously, I would expect that Aaron's going to have to try and go for the beat-up play here. I mean, but the Blastoise does have the fake out, and there is that fake out we just mentioned. Stops the Dugtrio from getting that beat-up play. There's the Max Steel Spike into the Dugtrio, which swaps Cinderace's ability to type into Steel. Gets that defense buff. Dugtrio goes down. There's the Max Steel Spike into the Blastoise, which obviously not going to do too much to that Blastoise, but does give Terrakion that defense buff. In comes Riolu now, so Riolu's actually came along this week. For pretty much the first time we've seen that Pokemon on the side of Aaron. And Aaron has it all to do now, 1-1 down. There's the helping hand from Riolu, trying to get Terrakion and do some damage, but the Max Airstream comes in, swaps Cinderace's ability to fly, the typing to flying, gets that speed boost for Riolu, hanging on with the focus, but there's the Water Spout, which, oh, Terrakion just lives through that, and there's the Max Rockfall onto the Blastoise to get the weather. Blastoise just living through that. Riolu does go down, unfortunately. The Water Spout says now 2v4. Gigalith now coming on, and with no Trick Room in, is going to be very, very difficult for Aaron to come back here. So that means there is, obviously, with that Terrakion Dynamaxing, there is no Hatterene in the back, so he's got it all to do here to try and bring it back. And you know, while that Blastoise is on the field, you know, it can't Water Spout now with it being on such low health, but you know, it can do a lot of work. And that Cinderace now is going to be going so fast, and obviously has that defense buff. I was really missing as an attack buff, and you've got one hell of a difficult Cinderace to stop, you know. I said, but with no Trick Room being able to go up there, there's no way you can even reset speed here. So there's honestly, I don't know that there's much that Aaron can really do here to stop this from really curtailing this first game. But you know, you never know if he can try and stall it out. There's still every chance he could get something going here. But there's the Max Milk from the Cinderace. That is going to change its type into Fighting type. Gigalith is going to hang on through that, and its Weakness Plus it does get procced. I don't know whether that's going to matter, though. There's the Scald on the Terrakion, not going to quite do enough. And there's the Steel Spike on the Cinderace, gives it another defense buff, but it might be too little too late. There's the Rock Slide, though, so it does get the kill on the Blastoise. So Gigalith putting in some work there, managing to hang on and live through that, but it's still it's everything for Aaron to do here, and this is very much Latvian's game to lose. Cinderace's G-Max ends and Terrakion's Dynamax. In comes the Machamp, though, and that could be very, very problematic for Gigalith. You know, two mons that Aaron's really not going to want to face with this lead. You know, yes, the Terrakion's kind of speedy, but that's Cinderace's speed buff and now the attack buff as well. It's going to be very difficult for it to hang on here. You know, a high jump kick here and any kind of attacking move from Machamp. This is going to be game number one. I don't really see the comeback happening here. There is the Iron Head on the Terrakion, which takes it out, changes the type into Steel. There is the Dynamic Punch on the Gigalith, and that is game number one to Latvian playing that superbly, only losing the Blastoise there just towards the end of that game there. So we swap into game two, and it is the Blastoise Cinderace lead again for Latvian, and Aaron swapping it up, going for that Hatterene and the Riolu lead, so obviously trying to go for that copycat Trick Room play, but Blastoise does have that fake out pressure on the other side, which means he's either going to go straight for the attack here, or he's got to try and maybe delay, you know, maybe go for a double max guard, but really you're not going to get anything out of your G-Max by doing that. So Aaron's kind of in a bit of a spot here, and it's kind of all power to Lat here, you know. Even if Blastoise doesn't go for that fake out pressure, you know, just the potential chance of it means that he can't really risk it. You know, yes, if he goes for it and does call the bluff, the Hatterene does live through it with the max guard, but you're wasting a turn of G-Max there, and potentially Riolu goes down to, you know, a double attack from Blastoise and Cinderace. So either way, Aaron's in a bit of a spot here, but you never know. It's not over till the Fat Lady sings. You can't call this one just yet. We know how strong that Hatterene can be, especially if it gets a smite up, gets some of those confusions off. It is going to be awfully difficult for it to stop here. At this point, Latvian did have a few disconnects here, so that's why this time is taking a bit of time to go through. That's not to worry though. We'll just keep yammering on and just sort of going as we do. I've got a few swigs of water here because my throat gets so unbelievably dry doing this. I'm a thirsty boy. Alright, so as we said, all still to play for. Yes, Latvian might have that 1-0 lead, but you know, we've seen Aaron make the comebacks a few times before. Funnily enough, Latvian actually has the highest number of game threes in the entire league. I think he's one of few people to not win all that many games in 2 over. The Hatterene swaps out, in comes the Cloyster, the Protect comes out from the Riolu, so no Detect stops that Fake out from going out, and the U-turn from the Cinderace is blocked on the Riolu as well, so purely going to take out the Riolu there, just going all out for that. And yeah, Cloyster now on the field, obviously, because Aaron has brought that Hatterene, it means only that Hatterene can G-Max. So obviously Cloyster can't go big here, and Cinderace hasn't gone for his G-Max yet, so both coaches electing not to use that G-Max turn 1. Aaron thinking better of it for trying to go for that play, the copycat play. Obviously we've seen that play from Latvian a couple of weeks in a row now, so if anyone's going to know that play better than any coach in the league, it's going to be Latvian. Let's use that play to pretty great effect so far. So what can Latvian do here to try and swing things? Well, it's still to play for. I say swing things. The Riolu swaps in there. There's the Gigalith, gets the Sunstream up, which is going to give that Speed Death boost over the Blastoise. Cinderace goes big. There's the Max Knuckle into the Cloyster. Change Cinderace to fighting. The Cloyster does hang on through that, but does get the attack buff for Cinderace. There's the Water Spout onto both of them. Gigalith just hanging on through that, but Cloyster not quite doing enough. Gets the weakness policy set up for Gigalith, but because it's swapped in there, it's not going to get the turn. And because there's no Trick Room, that Gigalith's in one hell of a spot. That Blastoise is still hanging on 95% HP as well, so it's just going to be a sort of rinse-repeat of Game 1 for Aaron. It was just sort of like a steam train running through his train. It really domino affected that first game, but he still does have that G-Max. If he can maybe stall Latvian out, there's still a way back in for it, but Latvian playing is very calm, cool, and collectively. In comes Riolu now. As we said, can't get that Trick Room play set up, but there's plenty of other things Riolu could do. Obviously, it's a baby Pokemon, so it's really pretty weak. But does have that Sash, which is going to get broken this next turn by Sandstorm. So even if he does protect through it, it's if it gets hit next turn, it's going to take that Sash damage. There is the Max Steel Spike from the Cinderace at the Gigalith. Gigalith goes down. It is now 4v2 again. There's the Water Spout from the Blastoise, which just gets rid of Riolu. But I said Riolu's now going to take that damage from the Sandstorm. And in comes Hatterene. Cinderace has that Steel typing now, has the attack buff, has the defense buff. Can it live a Steel Spike from the Hatterene here, from the Cinderace here? That's the question you've got to be asking. Is Cinderace is just absolutely ran train here, with that Lavero ability. It's so difficult to stop. There is the G-Max from Hatterene. She uses the Max Guard, which is very brave, and there is the Copycat Trick Room play. Water Spout does take out the Riolu, but that is now going to mean that the Hatterene is going to be going first. He does finally get the Trick Room set up. And Cinderace go for that Max Flutter Biplane in the end, trying to drop the special attack of Hatterene, just to stop it from doing any sort of extra damage. So it is now 1v4 for Hatterene. Can Hatterene do this? While it's got his G-Max up and it can get those smites off, if it can get some confusion going, there's every chance it could do it. It definitely looks like Latvian's got this one in the bag, but you cannot count it out. It could still go either way. There's the Smite in the Cinderace, which does take it out and gets the confusion on the Blastoise, but Blastoise has the Person Berry to stop the confusion going off. There's the Water Spout, which is not going to do quite as much to Hatterene. Hatterene goes down to about 70% HP. Blastoise, very, very good stuff there from Latvian, choosing the Person Berry, getting that off, and in comes the Fungus now, which, as we know, has that Rage Powder kicking around in the back and has Spore. But is Latvian aware of that, the Magic Bounce ability of Hatterene? Is not. There's the Spore, which bounces back onto Fungus because of his typing. Fungus doesn't get affected by that. I was very, very lucky, but the Blastoise goes down to a Max Overgrowth, and there is Hatterene's G-Max over. There's still 2 turns of Trick Room left, but if that Fungus Rage Powder's here, that Mudsdale, you've got to think it's going to be able to do enough work to take out the Hatterene here. Obviously, he knows he can go for that Spore plane now, so Aaron's got to hope that Hatterene can maybe live an attack from the Mudsdale, but I would think that this is going to be all she wrote. But great stuff for Hatterene just to get those 2 kills there. A little bit of a misplay there with the Spore play onto the Hatterene there, but I don't think it's going to have mattered too much in the end. Still great stuff from Latvian to win this game. We've had another 2-0 on our hands. There's the Rage Powder. Psychic doesn't even take out the Fungus. There's the Heavy Slam, gets the 2-0 win over Aaron's Inglorious Surfers, and that is the top of the table clash we were all waiting for. Ends in a 2-0 to Miami Heat. Superb stuff. Aaron very, very unlucky not to bring it back in that second game, but Latvian controlled that from start to finish. Superb stuff. I don't know whether I would have not brought the NDD to that game if it was me personally, but Aaron obviously had a strat in mind to try and beat out Latvian's team, and it didn't quite work out in his favour. But GG's to both coaches. Aaron still played that really well that game too. You know, as we just mentioned, the hat ring very nearly brought it back. And yeah, just what you wanted to see from that top of the table clash. As we move on to our game number 2, we have got the Shadow Kings taking on the Long Island Goomies. Now, as we said, there's quite a lot on the line here. Dogsy, even if he loses, still does have a chance at making winner's bracket, but if he's able to get the win over Silly's Long Island Goomies here, puts himself well within a shout of finishing in that top 4. Dogsy on a little bit of a winning run here as well. You know, 2 games in a row, he's been able to get the win over Gus and then Wio as well. Obviously did lose out to Latvian, so not a 2-game winning run, I should say, but is 2-1 in the last 3 weeks. I'm getting my weeks all mixed up. There's been that many weeks, but he's definitely on a good run of form. Silly obviously losing out in that first versus second battle last week to the Bulu boys, but you know, he might be on a 2-game losing run, but there's definitely still a lot to play for. You know, he was top of the table a couple of weeks ago, so you can't count him out. We've seen Dogsy do a few interesting things the last couple of weeks. Like Kabalian finally came out to play last week against Latvian and did a pretty damn good job. Obviously, just about didn't get the job done. But we know how strong that Venusaur can be as well with that Vulpix in the back. We haven't seen Excadrill in a few weeks for Shadow Kings, so maybe the Excadrill makes its appearance to start getting a few kills here. We've also seen that Galarian Weezing, which hasn't been running the neutralizing gas for Dogsy. He's been running it with a Misty Surge, so trying a few different things here, which, you know, really could work to his advantage. You know, with Silly's got quite a few dragon types in. Well, he's got the 1 dragon typing, the 2 dragon typing, sorry, I should say. But, you know, could work to his advantage and give that, you know, those fairy type moves a boost. On the other side, you know, he said first week that he didn't like me calling it a meme team, but, you know, there's so many different strats we've seen Silly try with this team, and it's honestly massive props to him. You know, when it works as well, it's so wonderful to watch. But we've seen that G-Max Airshrew get that Cell Prop weakness policy in recent weeks. We saw last week Weavile go for the fling onto the Sudowoodo to give it that 1.5 attack buff from the berry and the rattled ability on the Sudowoodo. So we could see, honestly, it's impossible to call exactly what Silly's got lined up here this week. I would think there's going to be some weakness policy Cell Proc here, but you just don't know with Silly. Such is the variety of his team. But without further ado, as I say again, we'll move in our game number 2. And there you go. So the Water Rescue is there in the back. Whether he's brought with his 4, we don't know. In comes Durant and Fletching, and the Krokorok and the Slurp on the side of Dogsy. Dogsy not going to enjoy facing off against that Durant with that Slurp up. You know, even with the attack drop from the Intimidate. I would think that Slurpup's in a bit of a spot, you know, Durant with that hustle ability. Obviously, it can miss, but I don't think under Dynamax it can miss moves. So that hustle ability is going to make those attacks hit so hard that even because of Intimidate, it's not going to matter too much. And in comes the Galarian Weezing, gets that Misty Surge up, which procs the berry onto the Slurpup, which is a special defense berry, which against Durant it's not really matter too much. And there's the Fletching with the Tailwind, gets the Max Steel Spike onto the Slurpup, and the Slurpup has gone. That Dynamax is out of there straight away. Durant getting that defense buff as well, so Durant really putting in the work there straight away. Because there's non-neutralizing grass, neutralizing gas, Fletchling does get that Tailwind off, which is going to give that speed boost to Silly. In comes the Krokorok to get that attack drop again. I don't know that it's going to really matter too much on that side of Durant. It is such a strong and speedy Pokemon. Obviously, kind of defensively weak, but I don't really know what Dogsy has on the back here trying to do them. There, in comes the Excadrill. Max Steel Spike into the Galarian Weezing, takes it out, gets another defense buff on the side of Silly. That Excadrill's really not good, but the Will-O-Wisp under Misty Terrain, that's a little bit of a misplay. That's not going to work out. In Tim comes in again from the Krokorok. And Durant with a 0.4 attack now, and Fletcher in the same, but has such a defense buff now that Durant's going to be very hard to stop. You know, both Krokorok and Excadrill physical attackers here, and I think even if Excadrill gets the Dynamax off here, it's going to be very difficult to really do any kind of damage to that Durant, especially while that Tailwind is up, and there's obviously, even if it was Sand Rush, would not be able to get that speed boost from the weather. And this is very much looking like Silly has this game number 1. I can't really see a kill going Dogsy's way here. There is the Dual Wing Beat onto the the Extra does about 5% damage. There's the Max Knuckle, and the Durant gives it that attack buff. Extra does manage to hang on through that, so Durant now has the 0.5 times attack. There's the Iron Head and the Fletchling, and Fletchling just manages to completely live, and the Thunder Fang. Fletchling with that 2 times defense buff now just happily lives that, and there's Durant's Dynamax ended. Obviously, Dogsy still does have the Dynamax on his side. What is he going to choose to use it this game? He's waited quite a few turns to get it going, and the fact that Edamon's still hanging on is quite impressive, to be honest. But this is looking like a bit of a foregone conclusion. There's Protect from the Extra, a double Protect there, trying to wait out the Tailwind, but I don't really see this mattering too much here. It's kind of delaying the inevitable, as Extra is on such low health. I think an attack from Durant's going to take it out, but you never know. We've seen stranger things happen in Pokemon, so you can never write it off. As we said earlier, it's not over till the fat lady sings. And yeah, it's all up to Krokorok and Extra. But there's the Super Power, which does miss because of that hustle ability. Ironhead finally takes out the Fletchling. The Life Orb though on the Extra does a bit of damage. The Fire Fang on the Durant just happily lives that, and in comes the Comfey now. Comfey is obviously going to be running the healing moves, you know, the floral healing and things. You know, keep that Durant nice and healthy, and it's going to be able to just run through the final 2 Pokemon here. Yeah, this is game 1, it seems, and not a great start from Dogsy there. Durant withdraws, and in comes the Dracozolt and the Protect from the Comfey, so Silly playing a few mind games here, and then the Excadrill takes itself out from the Life Orb damage, and Krokorok with it all to do now in this game number 1. As I said, that is going to be 1-0 to Silly's long. Gumi's Silly looking to try and get back on the board with a W. There's the Draining Kiss on the Krokorok, and there's the Outrage from the Dracozolt to finish it off. That is game number 1. Gumi's going 1-0 up. What has Dogsy got in the back to try and reverse this scoreline though? Obviously that lead did not work at all, and in comes the Durant and Fletching once again for Silly, and the Dracozolt, the Dragapult and the Cobalion this time. As we said, so no Venusaur in the back for Dogsy, as we I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, so obviously he's free to Dynamax whatever he wants. Silly, if he hasn't brought that Airshrew, which I would have thought he hasn't with that Durant Dynamaxing, means he's free to also Dynamax what he wants. I would expect the Cobalion is going to go for the D-Max here, and if Dragapult has that beat up, it can maybe get it set up. There's the Sucker Punch, which does proc the Justify, but only gives it that 1.5 times attack. There's the Tailwind from the Fletching. The Max Milk that comes out from the Durant, which takes the Cobalion down to half HP and gives Durant that attack boost. It's not going to enjoy taking another one. There's the Rock Ball into Fletchling, which does take it out and sets that Sandstorm damage up, so it's going to do a bit of chip damage to his own team. Durant not at all bothered by it though, and there in comes the Comfey now. To try and play spoiler. You know, Comfey is such a great support Pokemon. It's so difficult to stop. It's such a bulky little ball of flowers. But yeah, with that Tailwind now, that Durant's going to be going first. I don't know. The Cobalion lives in it. There's the Draining Kiss onto the Dragapult. There's the Max Knuckle, as we suspected. Gets that 2 times attack buff for the Durant. Cobalion goes down. And that's the Dynamax gone with the 2 times. U-turn comes out from the Dragapult to get that free switch and does a little bit of damage to the Comfey, but not really as much as you would want. And in comes the Excadrill now. And what has he got on the other side? And Krokorok to get that into him. Drops that Durant's attack by a little bit, but not as much as you want that Durant with that attack buff. It's looking so strong, and with the Tailwind as well, the speed control, the Durant is just, honestly, putting in the work. Dogsy just does not have an answer for it at all, and this is looking like it's already going to be a GG. Protect comes out from the Krokorok. There's the Floral Healing of the Krokorok, which is brave. There's the Max Knuckle from Durant into Extra, which takes it out in one go. It is now 2v4 for Dogsy, Krokorok, and Dragapult with it all to do now. Durant's Dynamax does end. Obviously, Dogsy not choosing to use the Dynamax that first game, which was kind of a brave choice there. Obviously, maybe didn't think it was worth his while running Dynamaxing with either his Pokemon he had left. But yeah, Dragapult, Krokorok versus the world is 2v3, I meant to say, not 2v4. Obviously, that Fletchling did go down earlier to the Cobalion. And while that Comfey is hanging around, there's the Draining Kiss on the Krokorok, which gives Comfey back up to full HP. The Iron Head on the Dragapult takes it out. Durant just putting on an absolute clinger, but Durant goes down the Fire Fang from Krokorok. It is now 1v2. Obviously, Durant not getting that defense point this time, but in comes Dracozolt. I would still think this is going to be over. I don't really know what answer this Krokorok has for Dracozolt here. As I said, while that Comfey's hanging around, it can keep that Dracozolt healthy unless Krokorok's able to one-hit KO the Dracozolt. Here we go then. this is very much looking like game number 2 to Silly, getting a much needed win back on the board. Dogsy with it all to do now. If he does lose here, we'll move to that 5-7 record with 2 weeks remaining. So all to play for those final 2 weeks. Both coaches trying to work out. I would imagine Silly knows what he's doing here, but Dogsy taking that extra bit of time. Just maybe playing this. There's the Draining Kiss on the Dragonzord. Procs that weakness policy on the Dragonzord. Not that it needed it. There's the aerial ace onto the Crocodile, takes it out, and that was game, set, and match. A foregone conclusion in the end. A bit unfortunate for to see Dogsy sort of just collapse so quickly after putting in such a good performance against Latvian last week. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. Silly much needed that win. So Silly will be much enjoying that. Gets himself up a place in the league now, thanks to Aaron's loss to Latvian earlier on, and gets up that 7-5 record. So here we go then into game number 3, and it is the local derby time. We have got Newcastle Thundurus taking on Toed Star Belgrade. Last time these two teams played, it was a doozy. It went all the way to game 3. Some great stall play from Wio in the final game to allow Colossal to use his G-Max late on, get that chip damage with the Volcalyph, and able to secure the game. And but Dave put in one hell of a performance in that game, so I would imagine it's going to be close between these two again. Honestly, Dave's MVP since the mid-season break has been Lantern. That Lantern has been so good here. And you know, depending on what it's running here, if it runs a Water Absorb here, it could very much entirely wall Wheel's team here. And we've obviously seen in recent weeks that Aegislash come out. Aegislash running with that weakness policy. Insin last week. I mean, I would very much doubt Insin comes this week with Wheel's all-rain team, but you never know with Dave. We've seen Rabombi come out in recent weeks as well, that Rabombi running either as support or as a special attacker is pretty damn strong. We've not really seen Azumarill in the last couple of weeks, but maybe makes its appearance here to try to run under the rain, get some damage done. Potentially you see the Dust Noir as well to try and get that Trick Room set up, because obviously we know there's 2 Swift Swim Pokemons on the side of Wio. Wio on a little bit of a losing streak here. Obviously lost to Aaron last week and lost to Dogsy the week before. We'll obviously be trying to put a stop to that rut that the Rain team hasn't really worked out too well for him so far, apart from getting that 2-0 win over Latvian a couple of weeks ago. So Wio, as we said, will be trying to put a halt to that bad run of form, and I'm sure we'll be on the lookout to try and get a win. But as we move on, let's get into game number 3, Toed Star Belgrade versus Newcastle Thundurus. And in comes the Ludicolo and the Bisharp on the side of Wheel, and Dusknoir and Ferrothorn launches on the side of Dave. Ferrothorn, now that's not a name I've heard in a while. Ferrothorn hasn't been, I actually don't remember the last time Dave actually used that. It's been such a long time, but as we suspect, Dusknoir comes in to try and get that Trick Room set up, but that Dusknoir's not going to enjoy facing down that Bisharp. Obviously that Bisharp runs the Defiant ability, so if any stat drops coming from a Dynamax move or, you know, an Intim, etc. Obviously there's no Intim in the back of Dave there, but if there was, that would proc that Defiant ability, and Bisharp will enjoy that. But Bisharp goes for his Dynamax, and Ferrothorn goes for the Dynamax here. That's not seen very often. Fake out because of the Ludicolo, which hits the Iron Barbs and the Rocky Helmet. Ludicolo taking about 30% HP there. Max Darkness to the Dusknoir, and Dusknoir goes straight down. That's the Oko. Gets that Spadecco on the Ferrothorn, and there's the Max Nuggle on the Ferrothorn from the Ferrothorn onto the Bisharp. Buff Bisharp to just above half HP, and does get that attack buff for Ferrothorn. So advantage to Rio, gets that Dusknoir down, so there's no speed control on the side of Dane. And in comes Azumarill. Now, what ability is Azumarill running here? Obviously, it has been under huge power, but there's the Max Steel Spike and Azumarill. Azumarill managed to hang on through that. But if it's running the Sap Sipper, which it is, gets that 1.5 times attack and completely walls that Ludicolo. There's the Icy Wind to try and slow the Ludicolo and Bisharp down, but does proc that Defiant on the Bisharp. But there's the Max Nuka from the Ferrothorn, and that is not going to quite take a Bisharp out because of that Max Steel Spike getting that attack buff. Obviously, Azumarill and Ferrothorn, pretty slow Pokemon, but I think even with those speed drops onto Bisharp and Ludicolo, it's not quite enough. And Dave's going to be very careful now that Bisharp doesn't just start running for his team with that attack buff. There's the Max Darkness on the Ferrothorn, which does drop the Spadef even more, but not quite enough. But Water comes out from the Ludicolo, but that's not going to do anywhere near enough onto Azumarill and Ferrothorn. There's the Max Nuke on the Bisharp, gets that 2.5 times that Ferrothorn, and finally Bisharp goes down, and Azumarill and Ferrothorn hang on. Azumarill now with 2.5 times that. There is the Raichu coming in with that Balloon. So no sash on the Raichu, obviously no ground moves can hit the Raichu while that balloon is still up. Obviously if Dave's able to pop that balloon and ruin all of Raichu's hopes and dreams. You know, he just wanted to go to the fair and get a balloon. In comes the Protect with the Ferrothorn. The Volt Switch into Zero, which does take it out, and obviously it allows that Raichu that free switch in. In comes Politoed with the Drizzle, so that's going to give Ludicolo that extra bit of speed and the rain boosted water moves. And in comes Lantern. Now, what ability is Lantern running? He's running that Water Absorb that Ludicolo is not going to be able to do too much. Obviously, does have that Energy Ball in the back. Tech comes out from the Ludicolo. And there's the Perish Song of the Politoed. The Thunderbolt hits into the Politoed because of that Wacom Berry. It does manage to hang on. The Leech Seed misses from Ferrothorn though. And there you go. This is 2v3, and Wio completely has advantage here while he's got that extra Mon. Can just really swap out one of the Mons there, and obviously resets that Perish Song, while Dave has got to get something done in 3 turns or that he's going to lose both the Mons. There's the Energy Ball on the Lantern. Lantern just managed to hang on. Thunderbolt into Ludicolo, which doesn't quite go down. There's the Body Press into Ludicolo. Doubling into Ludicolo. Great call there from Dave. Takes it out, and it is now 2v2. All to do. And Raichu obviously not affected by that Perish Song. But that Lantern now cannot go for an electric move onto the Politoed while that Raichu's hanging around. If that Raichu's running Lightning Rod, obviously it could be running something different, but I would have thought with that Lantern threat that Lightning Rod will be a play. So how big could that Sap Sipper ability be on the Azumarill going in, you know, if that Raichu's not hanging around? There's the Thunderbolt, which procs the Volt Absorb on the Lantern, so it's not Water Absorb. But Raichu really getting around there. Gets the Scald, does get the bell on the Lantern, but there's the Scald onto the Raichu, which does pop its balloon. And the Leech Seed comes out from the Ferrothorn onto the Raichu. So that's Rain Boosted Scald really putting in the work. Obviously the burn on the Lantern is going to help the Perish Song. It's going to go off next turn, but if that Politoed is slower than Lantern and Ferrothorn, it's going to mean that if the Raichu goes down this next turn, that Rio's going to lose this out to his own Perish Song, so this could be big. There's a Protect from the Politoed. Thunder hits into Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn just managed to hang on with that, but does get the Paralysis. There's the Scald on the Raichu, which does take it out. Body Press obviously blocked that Protect, but that's not going to matter. The Perish Song is going to take Politoed out because it's slower, and Dave is going to secure that first game. What a topsy-turvy weird game number 1. Rio's own Perish Song taking him out in the end there, and unbelievable Jeff towards the end there. Bisharp and Ludicolo lead game number 2 from Rio, and Duskmore and a Azumarill this time from Dave. The Frisk ability finding that Expert Belt and the wide lens on the Ludicolo and Bisharp, so Bisharp obviously getting that any super effective moves are boosted by the Expert Belt, and the Ludicolo. It's going to mean that Muddy Water has a higher chance of hitting. Duskmore swaps out, and in comes the Ferrothorn. Bisharp goes for his Dynamax. Fake out into the Azumarill, which just get the flinch, and there's the Max Darkness in the Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn's going to enjoy taking that, and it's going to get the Split Death dropped, and does about 40% HP. Obviously, Dynamax is not affected by the Rocky Helmet or by the Iron Barb's ability. So Bisharp hangs on with 100% health, and you know, that Azumarill's in a bit of a spot, you know, with that special defense drop. You know, that Ludicolo is entirely special. If it's got any other move than the Sap Sipper, it's good. In comes the Lantern though. There's the Max Steel Spike on the Lantern. Lantern just tanks that, obviously resistant to that move. Gets the defense buff on Ludicolo and Bisharp. There's the Muddy Water. The Thunder Wave into the Bisharp though from the Ferrothorn. It's happening again. It's all happening again for Wio. He must be seeing Nam flashbacks to the Dogsy game where he got hit by so many paralysis in that game, and it you know, it really changed the game. As much as Dogsy wouldn't like me to say, you know, the RNG really hit hard. So the Thunder Wave comes out, and Azumarill swaps back in for the Lantern. There's Protect on the Ferrothorn. Energy Ball hits Azumarill, and procs the Sap Sipper. Steel Spike hits into Azumarill, gives the Bisharp that 2 times defense, and the Ludicolo. Azumarill just about hanging on there, but that Bisharp is paralyzed. It not affecting his final Dynamax turn there, but while that is up, obviously there is that 25% chance each turn that it goes off. You know, the Ferrothorn is kind of walled in this situation here with that Bisharp, you know, Ferrothorn is great. There's the Muddy Water though, not quite doing enough to Ferrothorn Azumarill, but does get the accuracy drop on the Azumarill. There's the Icy Wind to try and get the speed drop on the Ludicolo and the Bisharp, but again, does proc the Defiant on the Bisharp, which the paralysis hits for the Bisharp, and there's the Leech Seed on the Bisharp, which gives Ferrothorn some of that HP back. So it's paralyzed and taking Leech Seed damage at the moment, which is really bad for Wio. There's a Sucker Punch on Azumarill. Paralysis not hitting at that time, and the Azumarill does go down. That's a bunch. Ferrothorn also hitting a Thunder Wave into the Ludicolo slot. Ferrothorn just hanging on, and it is now 3v4. There's still 3 mons on the side for David. In comes Dustmar, which obviously gets that frisk again. Yeah, the leech seed could be really, those paralysis could be really, really big again, working against Wheel. That Ferrothorn just hanging on like no tomorrow. You know, the Muddy Water's really just not affecting it. There's the Shadow Sneak on the Ludicolo, does a little bit, and the paralysis hits the Bishop again. Muddy Water comes out and it's only going to do about 20% damage, but no. But the Luminous Moss gives it that death boost on the Dustmore. That's an item I don't think I've ever seen before. Taking a hit gives it that special boost. And while the rain's not up, the Dustmore is going to happily just take that. And that's going to really help Dustmore along here, unless the Bishop does get an attack off. In comes the Lantern, there's a Shadow Sneak on the Ludicolo. Sucker Punch doesn't manage to go off, obviously hitting into the land. What was the Ferrothorn slot. Lantern comes in, Dave just completely stalling him out here, you know, no paralysis that time. But the Bishop going for the Sucker Punch obviously didn't work out. Knew he couldn't really go for the Dustmore, but maybe should have done with Shadow Sneak coming off. There's the stockpile from the Lantern, gives that defense and special defense, but the paralysis is the Bishop again. This is unbelievable. This Bishop had about 1 turn in the last 4 turns. So Lantern with with his leftovers and Leech Seed just keeps getting that health back and is going to keep getting stronger while that stockpile goes up. I don't know how much that energy ball is going to be able to do as we move on into turn number 9. We just keep rolling on. And, you know, Wheel's still got all 4 Pokemon on the field, but 2 of them with the paralysis, with the speed drop. So now Shadow Sneak comes out. There's the Thunderbolt on the Ludicolo. Paralysis hits Bishop again. Energy Ball into the Lantern. Lantern just managed to hang on. Gets that health back because of the leftovers and the Leech Seed. And this is just insane. So Dave just slowly whittling him down. Dustmore swaps out in because the Ferrothorn. Protect comes out from the Ludicolo. Stockpile from the Lantern gives that buff again. The Night Slash into the Ferrothorn does take it out. Iron Barbs and the Rocky Helmet takes out the Bishop though. And it is now a 2v3 fight. Raichu now comes in. Lantern now unable to use any electric moves that would hit that Lightning Rod Raichu. Dave still hasn't used his Dynamax at this point yet. There's still a chance for him to use that Dynamax and start sweeping at this point. Politoed swaps out for the Ludicolo on pretty low health. There's the Thunderbolt on the Lantern, but it hits the Voltorb again. What has he done? And Lightning Rod from Dave gives Raichu that special attack boost. Big misplays from both sides there, and the Trick Room comes out from the Dustmore. Just to ensure he's going to go first on that Raichu. And, you know, while that rains up, that Scald boosted moves are going to hit hard. Shadow Sneak hits into the Ludicolo. It is now 2v2. There's the Scald on the Politoed. Obviously would have hit into that Ludicolo slot, but with it going down. And there's the Perish Song from the Politoed. Now, as I didn't realise before the game, the Trick Room going off and Dave being slow, that means if Dave's not able to get Politoed and Raichu gone, that because Trick Room makes him slow, that the Perish Song will affect him first, and Dave will lose out. But there's the Lantern going for his Dynamax. Fake out into the Lantern, doesn't quite work out. There's the Shadow Sneak into the Raichu, which just pops Balloon. There's the Max Geyser into the Raichu, which takes it down with Rain Boosted. Politoed with it all to do now in 2 turns, but while that Trick Room is up, this could end up just not quite working out for Dave. 2 turns of Trick Room, 2 turns of Perish Song. If Dave's not able to take out Politoed here, it's going to be a game over. There's the Will-O-Wisp on the Politoed, just going to get that burn damage. Max Lightning hits into the Politoed, but that Whack and Bury just sort of negates some of that damage. Scald hits into the Dustmore. Dustmore just hanging on through the Rain Boost of Scald. Perish next time. We've got 1 turn of Trick Room to go. If Politoed protects here, it's going to be all over. We're going to move on to a game 3. We're in turn number 15 here. This game has gone on for what seems like an eternity, but it's been absolutely sensational stuff. There's the Shadow Sneak on the Politoed, doesn't quite work. The Max Lightning blocked by the Protect. Politoed's going to just hang on with that. And there is the Perish Song hitting both Lantern and Dustmore going down. Politoed goes down last and gives Wheel that game number 2 win as we move on to game number 3. And that stall player from Dave was just unbelievable, getting those paralysis off. Wheel must be just absolutely cursing the game at this point. You know, as I said, you know, those Nam flashbacks to the game against Dogsy 2 weeks ago. In comes Lantern and Ferrothorn this time from Dave, and Ludicolo and Bishop leading the line once again for Wheel. You know, what can we go? Does Mio maybe go for the Ludicolo Dynamax this time, or is he maybe gonna go for the Bisharp once again? Bisharp does Dynamax indeed, and the Ferrothorn Dynamaxes again. The fake out if the Ferrothorn is gonna get that Rocky Helmet and the Iron Barbs damage on the Ludicolo once again. Max Steel Spike into the Lantern, that's not gonna really do much, but does get that defense buff. There's the Thunderbolt into the Ludicolo doing a bit more damage. And there's the Max Knuckle into the Bisharp, which gets the crit, which could be really, really huge. Giving that attack buff to the Ferrothorn, but that crit could really end up mattering in the end there. Obviously not getting the crit last time, Bisharp was company hang on there. But there's a Max Darkness into the Ferrothorn, doesn't get the Speed Death Drop onto the Lantern and Ferrothorn. Energy Ball into the Lantern, Lantern just about hanging on there and goes for the Stock Bar, which is a brave move with it being on such low health. There's the Max Knuckle into the Bisharp. Bisharp just about hanging on through that thanks to the defense buff from the Max Steel Spike in turn 1. And Ferrothorn buffs his attack once again. I think another Energy Ball into Lantern here, and that's going to be about it. In comes the Azumarill though, trying to predict that Energy Ball. Max Steel Spike again gives another defense weapon. There's the Muddy Water into Azumarill and Ferrothorn. Gets the double accuracy drop as well, and Max Knuckle hits into the Ludicolo now, and Ludicolo manages to hang on thanks to that defense buff. But both Ludicolo and Bisharp both on low health now, and those accuracy drops could end up being really big. You know, that Azumarill is obviously going to be slower than both Ludicolo and Bisharp here, so as we said, another Energy Ball and Azumarill's Azumarill won't go down to an Energy Ball, sorry, thanks to Sapsip, but there comes Politoed with the Drizzle, both the Dynamaxes ending. There's the Muddy Water onto Azumarill. Azumarill just about hanging on. The Misty Explosion comes out, but it misses! Misty Explosion misses, and Azumarill goes down and isn't able to take anyone with it, obviously trying to take out that low health Ludicolo, and in comes Dusknoir. Obviously sees the berry in the lens again, which Dave's already aware of this information. And Ferrothorn now and Dusknoir 3v4. Obviously that Bisharp in the back still on pretty low health, so Rio's still in with a shout. You know, but that Bisharp takes the Bisharp comes in though with that low damage. There's a Shadow Sneak onto Ludicolo and the Leech Seed onto the Bisharp, and Bisharp goes down to that Leech Seed damage, and all of a sudden it is 3v2. Kingdra and Politoed with the ult to do. Obviously Kingdra is going to get that Swift Swim ability and is going to get the rain boosted water moves, which is I think even Ferrothorn is going to struggle to take those, especially Dusknoir. There's the helping hand from the Politoed. Hurricane is at the Dusknoir, but Dusknoir just able to tank that to only take half damage. There's the Will-O-Wisp onto the Kingdra, and there's the Leech Seed onto the Politoed. So Dave once again trying to just slowly chip away at the Rio's Pokemon, just slowly taking their health down. And honestly, what a game this has been. There's the helping hand, Kindred. There's the Muddy Water. It takes out the Dusknoir. Ferrothorn just about hanging on through there. And the Thunder Wave into the Politoed. And again, there's that chance of paralysis once again for Rio. And it is now 2v2, that Lantern on pretty low health. This could genuinely go either way here, but I think another Muddy Water on the side of Kingdra is going to really hurt. Obviously, that Lantern is not water absorbed. But paralysis hits the Politoed. Tech comes out from the Lantern. Hurricane though into the Lantern, it misses. The Leech Seed misses from Kingdom though. Just all sorts happening in this game as the Leech Seed hits the Politoed again and just removes some of its HP. Ferrothorn getting some of that health back again. Paralysis really big in this game once again for Rio, and the paralysis hits again for Politoed. What is happening? Flash Cannon into the Lantern. Lantern just resisting that. There's the Thunderbolt into the Politoed. Wackenberry is going to keep around, but there's the Body Press into the Politoed. Takes it out, and Kingdra now with it all to do. Slowly chipping away is the Ben on the Kingdra. What can it really do here? I mean, obviously not going to have the helping handed rain boosted Muddy Water here, so I think even still Muddy Water is not going to hit the Ferrothorn. Hurricane into the Lantern does hit, but Lantern lives it. And there is the Leech Seed, misses, but the Burn's going to take it out. And that is game number 3. Dave taking the win. Dave now 2 wins in a row for Big Dog Dave. The first time he's managed it this season. And honestly, what a sensational game. That's the first time a game's went longer than like 10 turns since I don't even know when. We've not seen anything like it in the league for, I don't think, ever. Dave just working that paralysis and the burns and the Leech Seed to his absolute advantage, and we just had no answer to it whatsoever, and quite a few big mistakes on both sides at times, I think, but proccing that Volt Absorb and the Sap Sipper twice for Weo really not helping his cause there, and Weo moves to loss number 3 in a row, so Weo's really got a bit of a rut to stop here. But Dave, big congrats to both players, big GG's. really fun game to watch. Honestly, as entertaining as you would hope a local derby to be. I'm pretty positive some choice words were exchanged after that game. Maybe not directly to each other, but I'm sure we all won't have been happy at that one. But you know, we are still in with a shout at making that upper bracket, that winners bracket. So there's still every chance he's got to bring it back though in the next few games. As we move on to our final game of the week, it is top versus bottom, first versus eighth. Bulu boys taking on Aurora Articuno. Now, last time these two played, it was a first versus eighth battle, and Gus's Aurora Articuno were able to get their first win of the season in a 2-1 fashion over the Bulu boys, handing the Bulu boys their first loss of the season as well. Obviously, it's all changed now. Gus has had two other wins since then, and Bulu boys moved up to 7-4. But obviously, Gus does have that advantage over Matt from last time. Gus, you know, we say it every week. There's not really too much to say about his team. We know we're going to see that Lapras, we're going to see Dusclops, Whimsicott, and any sort of variation of either Tyranitar or Vikavolt hanging around as a fourth mon there. But we've seen a few different mons on Matt's team recently. That Porygon 2 typically runs as the Trick Room setup with that with the recover move, keep yourself alive, and it's just so tanky, just hanging around. But recently Matt has been running a special attacking P2, and boy is it put in work. I've been really impressed with this Pokemon. You know, it's able to just tank hit so well, and it hits so hard if it gets the download ability off that it's phenomenally difficult to stop. I may not use the Centre Scorch in recent weeks, but maybe it comes today, maybe it doesn't. Obviously, we've seen Pinsir be, you know, a main sweeper for this team in the past. Crocodile's been putting in work, and Sableye's been working really well as a support Pokemon, as we've seen in the last 2 weeks. Really coming out good against Silizon and Gummies last week. Morwell's made one or two appearances. Well, the only one we haven't really seen yet is Fletching, so maybe does the Bulu boys go for that Tailwind setter instead and try and work around the Trick Room? Who knows? But without further ado, I say it again, let's move into our game number 4 of week 12, Bulu boys versus Aurora Articuno. And in comes the Centre Scorch and the Jolteon this time from Matt, and the Dusclops and the Whimsy this time, as we saw him lead twice last week, trying to get some sort of speed control up, you know, making sure if one of them goes down, he's going to be able to get some kind of speed, whether he gets Tailwind up or whether he goes to the Trick Room. But what has Matt got up his sleeve here for Centre Scorch? Last time we saw this, well, not this pairing, but Centre Scorch lead. But there's a Sunny Day from Bolteon, gets that Sun up, which is going to sort of. There's the Coil as well from the Centre Scorch, buffs that attack and defense, and there's the Trick Room going up from the Dusclops. So Matt allowing the speed control to go up, but does have the Sun up, so it means if when Lapras does come in, those water moves aren't going to hit as hard on Centre Scorch. So just trying to weaken the Lapras's damage output and sort of buff its own damage. You know, that Centre Scorch has pretty high attack, you know, 196 attack with the full EVs invested in it, so it can hit hard. You know, Centerferno in the sun is going to really hit hard. Obviously gets that chip damage, and unless it's a ghost type, does mean that the opponent is trapped in. But Lapras does switch in. There is the G-Max from the Centre Scorch. Centre Scorch gets hit by the Nightshade from the Dusclops, but in comes Centerferno, which is going to take out that Dusclops in Oko, gets that chip down. And there is the Thunderbolt on the Lapras as well. Lapras going to go down at that Centerferno damage as well, so 2 down in the space of 1 turn for Gus. I think Matt was going for the Whimsicott there to try and get the chip damage on, but not able to do it, and there's 2 gone straight away. So now is Centre Scorch slower than that Tyranitar? Obviously it's going to be slower than the Whimsicott, but what can Matt do here if that Tyranitar is slower than Centre Scorch here? That Centre Scorch is in a world of trouble, but if not, you know, Matt can quite easily max Flutterby here and take out the Whimsicott, and that is going to be game, set and match in this first game. But what a turn. But there's a helping hand on the T-Tar. The T-Tar goes first, and there's Rockslide. It takes both Centre Scorch and Jolteon out, both out in the same turn. So 2 turns and 2 mons down both times. And this could go either way now. Whimsicott and Tyranitar both, you know, I said that T-Tar is going to be spec pretty slowly under that Trick Room. And in comes Crocodile and P2. So what can this duo really do here against T-Tar? That T-Tar is a fighting move. That Crocodile is going to be in a lot of bother. But that Sun is still up. There's a helping hand from the Whimsy. Protect comes out from the Crocodile. crunch, and the Crocodile is blocked by the Protect. And there's the Solar Beam from the PT, which is going to take out that Tyranitar. And it is now just Whimsicott with it all to do against Krook and against PT. Obviously, Whimsicott, we do know, has that Moonblast, so, you know, Krook's not going to enjoy taking one of those, but whether it can do enough to take out both. There's the Ice Beam from the PT, who's going to take Whimsicott down with Sash. Moonblast is into the Krook, which does proc the Roselli Belly, so that's useful information for Latvian Gustino. The Rock Slide does miss from Whimsy, but it's only delaying the inevitable here. And the next turn, I think you're going to see this Whimsy go down regardless. Trick Room ends. It's going to be game number 1. The good one. There's the close comeback from the Krook, taking out the Whimsy and gets game number 1 on the board for Bulu Boy. So pretty clinical stuff up until like turn number 3, and T-Tar going slower than the rest and just able to take out both Center Scorch and Jolteon. In comes Lapras and Whimsicott this time, and Crocodile and Pinsir for Matt. So obviously not a duo you would expect from the side of Matt, obviously switching it up, and Gus also switching it as well. You know, typically you only ever see that Dusclops and Lapras lead the line, or the Dusclops Whimsicott, so Gus going for something different, trying to get some sort of speed control up. The Crocodile goes for its Dynamax, and the Lapras also goes for its G-Max here, and there's the Tailwind from the Whimsicott. Stormthrow into the Krook is going to proc the Anchor Point on the Krook, so Krook getting 4 times attack, but Whimsicott hanging on to that Sash. Obviously, I think Matt was expecting the Protect there, and Resonance not quite taking out the Krook thanks to that Death boost from the Max Quick, but you'd think that Krook now is going to go down this next turn thanks to the Tailwind going up and giving Whimsy that speed buff. You know, I think even one Moonblast is going to be able to do enough. Max Guard comes out from the Lapras. There is the Krook going down to the Moonblast, and Stormthrow into the Whimsicott is going to take it out. So 1 apiece, but that Lapras now not only has Aurora Veil up, but still has his G-Max, and in comes P2. And while there's no sun up, obviously that Solar Beam is not going to be able to do absolutely anything unless that Jolteon's kicking around in the back to try and get that Sunny Day set up. Well, I don't think it's going to really matter too much at this point. I said that Dynamax has ended that Lapras. Well, it's got that Aurora Veil, so very helpful. In comes Sableye. Max Geyser hits it the Sableye. Sableye just sort of tanks that, but does get the water, the range up. Shadow Ball into the Dusclops, not quite doing enough, and there's the Rock Tomb to self-proc the weakness policy on the Lapras, gets that speed buff, and the Lapras could potentially just run training. Its G-Max does end, but it still has the Resonance up, and just P2, Sableye, and Pinsir in the, you know, on the field for Matt. And unless this P2 can really pull off something spectacular, I think this is going to be it, to be honest. You know, we know that Sableye is not got anything to really do any damage, and it really much depends on what Pinsir's got in its locker, to be honest. But, you know, the fact that the Stormthrow didn't do as much as you would expect, I would think that Pinsir's spec a little bit lower attacking-wise. And I think this is potentially just a foregone conclusion if this Lapras can just sort of start running house. What a game too. Both games have just been something special. I didn't think Gus was expecting the Anger Point, but on the same side I think Matt was expecting the Lapras to go for its G-Max straight away. I think he was expecting the Tripper and Protect, as we've seen a lot in recent weeks. And yeah, Matt just trying to choose what he does. The Protect comes out from the Lapras. The Ally Switch comes out the Sableye. Seems a little bit unnecessary, but Dusclops comes in, gets the Trick Room up now as well. Dusclops just shipping, you know, just slowly losing health from their Shadow Ball because P2 hasn't got the right, you know, if it had got the special attack boost from download, maybe it would be a bit different here because it's had the attack boost. The P2's in a little bit of a spot here. Sorry, just sticking my phone in instead. A little bit toasty in my room. And that Sableye, I would doubt it's got any sort of damaging moves that it can do here. So there's the trick on the Sableye, just trying to get a bit of information, but obviously gets a mental help, swaps the Lightning Tail, and Dusclops. Not going to matter too much. The Ghost Blast Blizzard comes out, misses Sableye, but hits the P2. Shadow Ball hits the Lapras, and that's not really doing anything here. And yeah, I think this game 2 is reasonably over unless that P2 can sort of sit and recover and just sort of keep itself around. You know, maybe that Sableye's got a helping hand in its back pocket to try and do a bit of extra damage. Quash comes out from the Lapras. There's the Solar Beam from P2, but you'd imagine that Gus is just able to protect that next turn. The Blizzard gets the double miss though, so that was kind of a brave one from Gus there, but just both sides not really sort of doing anything here. Just Gus slowly chipping away at the health of Sableye and P2. You know, yeah, there's the double protect. And Sableye does go down. I skipped ahead through that time. My apologies. In comes Pinsir now. Trying to take advantage of that Trick Room going down the next turn. Can maybe get some damage off on the Lapras. If that Lapras goes down, then maybe it's a bit easier. But, you know, we know that, I think Matt knows that T-Tar's hanging around in the back, and I don't really know what either one are doing. There's the Hydro Button, takes out the Pinsir. And the Shadow Ball hits into the Dusclops. That's not going to do as much. Nightshade hits into the P2, which obviously is immune to Ghost Techniques. I think Gus was just trying to make sure that the Pinsir went down, the big damage to her. And that is going to be game, set, and match for this game. P2 not able to get the Dusclops. There's the Hydro Button with the P2, and Gus ties us up at 1 apiece. So it's going to a game 3 again between top versus bottom. In comes the Lapras, and in comes the Dusclops this time from Gus. Centiskorch and Jolteon leading the line for Matt again. The same game 1 duo. Do we maybe see the same sort of setup? Do we see the Sunny Day come up and the coil from Centiskorch? Try and get that attack buff going. What we're going to see from Gus here, does maybe go straight for the G-Max? Try and take that Centiskorch out before a Sunny Day. Try and reset the weather so the next turn when Trick Room's up, they can just hit good and hit hard under the rain. There's the G-Max from the Centiskorch. Centiskorch goes straight for the G-Max, no colors on. Helping Hand comes out from Jolteon. Tech comes out from the Lapras. Inferno hits into the Dusclops. Dusclops goes down to that, and the Trick Room setter is gone. And Lapras is going to take a little bit of chip down to that Inferno for his troubles. In comes Whimsicott now. He's going to probably want to try and get the Tailwind set up here on maybe it's going to go for the Trick Room. Knowing how slow that T-Tar is, maybe wants to make sure that Centiskorch goes down. So in the Lapras goes for G-Max as expected. There's the Sunny Day from the Jolteon, and G-Max Inferno hits into the Whimsicott. He's going to knock it down with Sash, and the Resonance hits into the Jolteon. Gets that Whimsicott does get that Trick Room up, gets the move off just before the chip damage takes it out. Lapras taking a little bit more chip damage for his troubles, and in comes the Tyranitar now, which, as we know from game 1, is slower than the Centiskorch. And Lapras going to be slower too, so this is a bit of a spot for Matt here. Again, I think the Nan flashback's coming in strong. You can see it happening all over again. All he can maybe hope for is a miss here, but in comes P2. P2 swaps in, gets the attack roll from the download. Max Guard comes out from the Centiskorch. Max Geyser comes out, obviously not able to reset the weather. Rock Slide not really doing as much, and that is Life or T-Tar, so T-Tar taking a bit of chip damage for its troubles there. So P2 not getting a special attack boost like it got before, but he's maybe trying to go for that Solar Beam just to try and do a bit of damage. There's the Max Geyser into Centiskorch. It's going to proc its weakness policy there, but Rock Slide hits again. Centiskorch goes down, and P2 goes to the Solar Beam, but now that it rains up, it's going to be completely blocked, and Gus is obviously going to protect that next turn to stop the Solar Beam from hitting either Mon. I think the Lapras will be able to reliably live that because I haven't got the special attack boost here, but just Jolteon and Krug in the back from that, and in comes said Krookodile now for it. He's got all the work to do, all the carrying work. Protect comes out from the Lapras. Protect comes out from the T-Tar. The double Protect, I skipped through that one again. I apologise for that. And what can they do? So the Trick Room is going to end the next turn. So maybe just not try and wait it out. Just go for a Protect of his own. Maybe go for a cover on the P2. So Hydro Pump hits into the Protected. Krookodile Rock Slide hits the P2. P2 just hangs on through that and gets flinched. So no recover from P2. But there is the Trick Room gone. For Gus. So Gus, no speed control now. Tech comes out from the T-Tar. The Gus comeback comes in for the Krug, takes out the Lapras, and it is now 1v3 for T-Tar. The cover comes out from the P2 just to give itself that HP back. And now T-Tar with it all to do. Close comeback comes out from the Krookodile, takes T-Tar, and that is game number 3. Matt takes the win. Now final game of the week, and that is going to be it for that, Matt. So Matt getting a bit of revenge for last time. Really enjoyed that game with Gus. Had a lot of fun that game. Just tried a few different things. Was really hoping that Anger Point would work out in the end, but I got the call wrong on that one. I said I expected the Protect and either a Tailwind or a Trick Room. So these things happen in Pokemon. you know, you make the right call, you get it right, it goes well. You make the wrong call, it goes wrong, you lose. But anyway, after those results, let's take a look at the updated Week 12 league table. Bulu boys sat on the top of the spot. The top of the spot? The top of the table. Again, 8-4 now. But Latvian, ever close, also sat on the 8-4 record after taking out Aaron's Inglorious Surfers. So both sat on an 8-4 record. Silly, after getting that win over Dogsy, moves up to 3rd place. Jumps over Aaron's Inglorious Surfers, but they're both sat on the 7-5 record. Silly just with a better match record. And down below them now, this is where it gets interesting. We have 2 games to go. And Toed Star Belgrade, Newcastle Thundurus and Shadow Kings all sat on 5 and 7. All 3 teams could still make it into the winners bracket. The weird thing is, Silly's, Gumi's and Inglorious Surfers, one of them next week will make sure they're not going to go to that loser bracket. The other one could still lose it. That's how crazy the league is at the moment. As we said, 2 weeks ago, or a week ago, sorry, Gus, unfortunately, out of contention for that winners bracket, but can still obviously make that losers bracket run. So let's take a quick little gander at next week's games. Week number 13, so a huge one at the top of the table. We've got the Bulu boys taking on Latvian's Miami Heat, first versus second once again. And this could be really huge. Last time it was a game 3 between those two, so I'm expecting big things. It's going to be a great game with Lat. Toed Star Belgrade take on bottom of the table, Gus's Aurora Articuno. Needs a win here to keep himself in contention to get that upper bracket placement. But more importantly, Silly's Long Island Goomies take on Aaron's Inglorious Surfers. As I said, the winner confirms himself for the winners bracket. The loser can still end up in that losers bracket if they lose in their final week. And of course, another big game as well. Dogsy Shadow Kings take on Newcastle Thundurus. The winner can still make the winners bracket. The winner will move up to have 6 wins on the board, and if they win in the final week, can get that final upper bracket placement. The loser is confirmed for the losers bracket, so genuinely all to play for as we move into our penultimate week of league games. But that is going to do it for this week. I hope you've all really enjoyed this week's games. I have been your host, Matt Star, and I will see you all next week back at our normal time of 1 PM right here on this Twitch channel. See you all then. Mwah.